We'll go ahead and call the Ellis County Public Building Commission meeting into order. Donna, please note that all 3 board members are present. Any changes to the agenda, anyone?
No.
Bill, Marcy, Barb? No? Approval of prior minutes?
The 13th.
13th is the only ones we have.
Yeah.
Marcy?
I'll approve them, yeah.
Stand approved as presented. Consideration of accounts payable, we got a couple.
Yeah, I saw that.
Bill, you want to report on that? Don't we have this one here?
No.
Well, that's just transferring money.
Yeah, that's just,
Yeah, I wasn't aware of any
PVC.
accounts payable.
Okay.
yeah.
We're going to move on to our project manager report. Phil, what do you got to say?
Well, we had a successful open house at the 601 Main project. Still a few items left to do there, but we're getting those done hopefully this week. And hopeful at our January meeting that I will be able to have a report that we are officially done. Speaking of our January meeting, after consulting with our counselor, we have determined that we should have that meeting after the county commission meeting rather than before the county commission meeting as we normally do, because it's actually the county commission that appoints members of the PBC, and so there won't be enough members to have a quorum at 5 p.m. until new members are appointed. So.
Okay.
We'll change up the order in January, and that's all I have for this evening.
Such details. Anything else, Phil, at all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Executive sessions, any? Bill or Bill? No. All right. We'll close the Public Building Commission meeting at 5:02. We will move on to the Ellis County Commission meeting. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Donna, please note that all 3 commissioners are present this evening. Changes to the order of business, anyone?
Don't think so.
I think we have 2 sets of prior minutes. Just the
The only-
13th only? Just the 13th?
The only thing
Yes.
I'd like to add to the agenda is to discuss the Heartland Community Foundation funds, if that would be possible, if we could put that.
Where would you like that at? How about 7B? Or we doing it sooner?
No, that's fine.
You said 7B?
7B.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Sorry.
yep, not a problem. Any additions or corrections to the November 13th meeting?
Yeah, I have none.
You have none?
I think,
You have none? Stand approved as presented? Okay.
Nope.
At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through G.
I move we approve the consent agenda, items A through G, as presented.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 3-0, Donna. Issues from persons not on the order of business this evening?
Got a sparse crowd.
A request to take the 2 positions, which we call the bridge gang positions, which we have not been able to fill for an extended period of time, and to reclassify them as heavy equipment operators, which are the positions we've been taking and using to fill the bridge gang positions. So it would put everybody on an even par, and it would give us a little more flexibility because everyone would be able to work the bridge gang when needed.
Yeah.
And then it would also increase the number of personnel that we could use. And Not that we're expecting heavy snow this year, but there, we,
It
it would just give us, it would give us two more operators to
caterpillars.
be able to put out on equipment and also to assist with the mowing operations in the summer.
Any questions for Bill, ladies?
I don't have any questions, but I think it's a good idea because that gives you a little more flexibility with your crew. I, maybe we can fill them, you suppose?
Well, this has been a continuing problem with Public Works and our trying to fill positions. So this makes sense. And I think you're right. I think there will be some overtime savings, but I think we have to be proactive and get these positions filled. So I move the commission disallocate 2 equipment operator positions in Public Works Department 19 Class EQOP, pay grade 103, and allocate 2 additional heavy equipment operator positions, Department 19 Class HEEO, pay grade 107.
I'll second that motion.
And
Donna,
did
we have a
anyone
motion.
understand that?
Yep. Thank you, Barb. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, ladies? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Barb, in favor.
All in favor?
I asked that.
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm a little distracted.
I didn't
Sorry.
say aye either.
Motion
No,
carries.
she didn't.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Bill.
Neither of us did. You didn't ask her?
She did. She said aye.
I
Oh, you did?
finally
Oh,
said
you
aye.
did?
I said all in
Oh.
favor, say aye. And it was 2-1.
I thought you were just picking on me.
So, well, maybe you made the motion, but you wasn't in favor. That's why I asked opposed. No problem. It's all good. Next item on the agenda, excess sales tax proceeds. County Administrator.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, County Administrator Philip Smith Haynes. In 2013, Ellis County issued 3 series of bonds to finance construction. Actually, the Ellis County Public Building Commission issued 3 series of bonds to finance construction of various facilities for the benefit of Ellis County. And per agreement between the county and the PBC, the county agreed to repay the bonds and subsequently took to the voters the question of financing the repayment of 2 of those series of bonds via a special sales tax. That was approved by voters, and that sales tax went into effect on October 1st of 2013. Those bonds were to be paid on an accelerated basis over a 5-year time period, and the sales tax was scheduled to sunset the earlier of September 30th of 2018, or when sufficient funds had been collected to repay the bonds in full. The state of Kansas only permits changes in sales tax rates on the first day of a calendar quarter and must be notified at least 90 days prior to the first day of a calendar quarter of those rate changes. As of 90 days prior to July 1st of this year, there had not been sufficient sales tax revenues collected to pay off the bonds. Therefore, the sales tax did continue for the full 5 years as approved by voters and terminated on September 30th of this year. However, since the payment of the final bonds in August, proceeds of the sales tax have continued to come in and now stand at approximately $1,396,000, with a further payment expected at the end of this month. At this time, staff is asking your commission what you would like to do with the proceeds of those bonds that are not necessary for the payment on the bonds. So there are 3 options in the staff report. You could direct the proceeds to additional improvements at the buildings that were subject of the bonds, B and C, which include the courthouse, law enforcement center, and emergency services building. Or you could instead direct the proceeds into the county's general fund under KSA 12-189. Or you could approve a mix of those two approaches by directing the proceeds into the general fund, but then approving a transfer in an equivalent amount to our capital projects fund. This would allow proceeds to be spent on buildings not within the original Series B and C bonds. I will mention also that, as your commission is aware, part of the proceeds that have gone into the sales tax fund are proceeds derived from the sales tax that was for the city of Hayes. They agreed to give up their portion for the buildings under an interlocal agreement. So if your commission should choose to not spend the money on those buildings, I would want to double back with the city of Hayes and make sure that they would be okay with that. So that is the staff report, and I'd be happy to answer some questions.
I guess, Phil, one of the things I'm thinking of, I know and Ed isn't here this evening, but I know we've had lots of problems at the jail with the elevator that's been in there since the test of time. I think that's one thing we need to look at, replacing that elevator, and along with the HVAC system.
Yes, and both of those projects were projects that we do have slated to complete in our capital 5-year capital plan, and so if we were to use the sales tax money to complete those, that would allow that money that we had programmed to go to something else.
I guess I would like to see you maybe get bids on that, just to see where that number would come in at on the new item.
Well, we're a ways out from getting bids yet. We're still in the design
Sure.
phase on those, but
Exactly.
yeah, that we are moving forward with both of those projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel that the money was collected from the sales tax for these bonds, or for this bond issue, and so therefore I think it should be used to go ahead with the rest of the improvements that were pulled out under the, because everything that was on there that was pulled out needs to be done eventually.
And I would guess we don't have enough money in there to do all the improvements.
No.
Not at all.
No,
We have
no.
to pick and choose. I think what we
That's-
feel is the most important.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to draw straws or something like that, but I do think that since it was
Prioritize.
collected for that, I think it should be used for that. That's
Exactly.
my personal opinion.
I just know we cut that elevator replacement out when we were doing the project, and they're still having problems to this day with it, so.
And I thought about the elevator as well. I know that the hard part of looking at this, though, is knowing there'll be shortfall within the general fund.
True.
So I would advise to check to see just guesstimates of what some of these projects cost, so that,
Well, if you want guesstimates, I mean, we have at least $600,000 in just jail cameras, elevator, and HVAC. Just those three things alone are at least $600,000. By the time you add in renovations to the courtroom, the doors at the emergency services building, some upsizing of the generators, I think you're getting close to spending the full amount. I don't think it would be a problem to spend the full amount on those three buildings if that's what the commission so chose.
I guess I'd like to see what the estimates would also be on them other projects, if that's something you can maybe get a close number to, as far as the generator upsizing and doors and et cetera.
There's what,
Okay.
4 doors?
So I think what I'm hearing here is a consensus of the commission to spend the money on the buildings that were the subject of the bonds, and then then if there is excess at the end of that, then we can have a further discussion about it at that time.
That's my opinion. Barb, Marcy?
Yeah,
Pretty much. I'm hoping that we can maybe use half of it to finish some of these projects in the
Other half put in the general fund.
other half in the general fund is what I'm leaning towards, because I know that we need to, it's not that we won't spend it on buildings, because that,
but it will.
so,
And I know we've talked about public works overtime too, but that wasn't in this project, so
right.
anyway. But that's what you're hearing.
That's what he's hearing.
Okay, great. So staff will proceed with trying to come up with a list of projects and estimated costs for approximately half, maybe a little over half of the remaining amount, and then come back to the commission for further direction on the remaining half. As I said, probably need to check with City of Hayes on that if we're going to transfer it. So,
That'll
All
be
right.
fine.
That sounds
Thank you. Next item, purchasing card policy, County Administrator.
thank you again, Mr. Chair. Once again, County Administrator Philip Smith Haynes. So, in September of this year, your commission reviewed the county's travel reimbursements policy and asked that we also develop a policy on use of the county's purchasing cards. A group of county staff from the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, and public works department met with me. We reviewed purchasing card policies from other agencies, including 5 other Kansas counties, and are recommending the attached policy. It's been reviewed by our department head group as well, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Marcy, questions?
I don't have any questions. I think it's time to get it in place.
I do have a question, as well as agreeing that this is long overdue. But I want to make sure that this, it's clear somewhere in here that employee means both elected and staff, non-elected personnel. Is that correct?
On the purchasing card policy, is that how that works?
Well, yes. So it would be any anybody who receives a check from the county and is issued a purchasing card, so it could potentially include the 3 of you. But obviously, there are limits on the ability to enact discipline, for example, on elected officials. So there certain parts would not apply to elected officials, but we could certainly add in some language clarifying that policy applies to all purchasing cards issued.
I think that would be a really good addition to this, so that,
Okay.
Everybody's on the same page.
I like the listing of unacceptable purchases. I like the periodic audits.
And the
I know that for the majority of staff who have purchase cards, this has not been an issue, but it's always better to be ultra clear than it is to leave that off. So I think it's,
You'll bring that back next week with the changes, Phil?
Yes, I could do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, ladies, for Phil, what he's going to bring back next week?
No?
No?
oh, one more. On this acceptance form, would it be possible to have everyone who currently has one need to file one of these, just so that they get the purchasing card policy?
Most of the folks who have a policy have a purchasing card have signed a form pretty similar to
Okay.
the acceptance. We actually based it off a form that the county clerk's office maintains.
Okay.
But yes, so if you look at attachment A, everybody who has a purchasing card policy has a purchasing card will be receiving a copy of the policy and will be required to sign the acknowledgement.
Oh, I think that's a really, really good idea.
Yes, indeed.
I think, amen on that one.
Anything else, ladies, on that subject?
No, sir, not from me.
Thank you for all your input. Next item is the Heartland Community Foundation. Barb?
Well, I know that we kind of let that slide past us, but I would like to revisit giving them the $5,000 where they can double the money from the Dane Hansen Foundation. They bring in,
So you had previously directed the county administrator to do exactly that. So next week when I brought you end of year's transfers, I was going to
bring that up next
bring
week.
that up. But
Okay, I'll let you do it next week. I just know that part of it was they were, that it was kind of time sensitive, so I appreciate you putting that next week. I will allow you to do that next week.
Yeah, it's time sensitive, but in the correspondence from Heartland Community Foundation, they recognize that many of the public sector agencies have a timing issue with whether to do it in December or in January. So they actually don't need the commitment until
Okay.
next year. So I thought it would be perfect to include in our end of year transfers.
Okay, well then I'll just say, never mind.
Okay. County Councilor, Mr. Bill Jeter.
County Councilor Bill Jeter, I do not have a report. Thank you.
Thank you. County Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. County Administrator Philip Smith Haynes. I also have no report this evening.
County Commission reports. Marcy.
Well, last week I was on the radio program.
I could be
I
on the radio.
attended the ribbon cutting at the Extension office, and I also attended the last Workforce One quarterly meeting that I will be attending as an elected official. From that, I was told that unemployment levels are very low. There are plenty of jobs available. There are programs available for students. There's nursing openings in Salina, and also the Oxford House is opening in Hayes. I don't know if you are aware of that. And then they gave me a plaque to put on my wall.
That's very nice.
So, that's
Would
the-
you like to read the plaque to us, please?
Oh, okay. The Kansas Local Area 1 Elected Official Board and Local Workforce Development Board, representing 62 counties of central and western Kansas, hereby recognize and thank Marcy McClellan for her dedication and commitment to serving on the Local Area 1 Elected Official Board and ensuring that the local workforce development system provides exceptional services to job seekers and employers in the local Area 1.
Thank you and congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Barb, County Commission report.
I don't really have anything to report other than the Juvenile Corrections and Community Corrections Board meeting coming up this week, so.
Okay. I would just like to thank, under my report, I'd like to thank the Ellis County Fire Department and Bill Ring. Darren, I know you wasn't here on the Thanksgiving Day crash out at I-70, but Justin did a very good job. Pass that on to him. Your whole staff did. Bill Ring, thank you for showing up, helping out with that also. So appreciate all you guys do again. It went very smooth. So at least I thought it did anyway.
And thank you to the Ellis County Fire Chief and his great crew that made some really good food for the county Christmas party last night, and everyone who did that. And I know that our clerk probably did a lot of running around for that as well, so she never says anything, but Anyway, for everybody that did things. I
And
appreciate
Bill, it
it.
went smooth enough on Thanksgiving Day. I was still there to our Thanksgiving on time, so I wasn't expecting that call early in the morning, but it was all good, so. Everything went very smooth. Thank you, guys, for all you did. Anything else? Yes, Bill?
I would just like to say to the commissioners on behalf of the employees,
Say it in the microphone.
Bill Ring, Public Works Director. On behalf of the employees from the county, thank you for the party last night. It was very well done. It was very good food. Darren and crew did an excellent job,
Yes,
as
they did.
always. So
Yep.
I think that maybe they should cook us for the summer, y'all.
I'm thinking we need to have that same deal as a picnic and just leave Darren in charge.
So anyway, thank you on behalf of the employees from the county.
Well,
Very good.
very well attended by all departments but one, so it was very good. Any executive sessions, Phil or Bill or commissioners?
Okay.
We will adjourn at 5:26. Mike,
You're
thank
just-
you again for being here. You're learning the ropes. You're doing a good job.